Hello, everyone, and welcome to our second installment of the series that we're calling The Soul World, where we talk about dreams and different topics related to the soul. Today, we'll be talking about symbolism in dreams. I'll share one of the dreams that I had, and we'll go through a biblical example as well. When we look in the Bible, we see a lot of examples of people that had these really, really deep dreams, the central figures in the Bible, but there was a lot of symbolism in their dreams. First off, I'll share my dream. This happened it was towards the end of last summer. And it happened in the pre-dawn. And so before I woke up, I had this dream. I was swimming in this ocean, and I was swimming with all my might. I was really, really struggling, and I couldn't get out of this ocean. And caught up in the ocean with me were these small little kids, and they were struggling as well. They couldn't get out. The interesting thing about it was the ocean wasn't made of water, but it was made out of books. It's tons and tons of books everywhere. These were books that had no mention of God at all. So they were all, books about politics, books about science, books about food, pretty much every topic that you can imagine, but there was nothing in them about God. So after struggling, I was able to get out of this ocean, but these small little children were not. So after I made my way out of the ocean, I was just completely physically exhausted, and I looked back and I saw that the kids were still struggling. And I started walking, and I found my mom. And at that time, I heard a voice that said, the most important thing is to pass the knowledge of God on to the next generation. And then after that, I saw this really, really, really tall mountain. And that was when the dream ended. If we look back and analyze the dream, obviously the first thing that stands out is you go to the ocean, it's not made out of books, right? So there's something symbolic happening there. In this case, there's all these books, they have no mention of God. This represents the worldly knowledge of the world. Which is very, very useful. We need this. Without the knowledge of the world, you couldn't, cook breakfast. You couldn't drive your car to work. You couldn't fly, on a plane to go to that destination that you want to go to for vacation. So this is important knowledge, but there's a spiritual purpose there that you need knowledge about God in order to fulfill. That's the first kind of key point when we look at the symbolism of this dream. The second, when I heard the voice, it said, again, the most important thing is to pass the knowledge of God on to the next generation. And when we look at there was a bunch of little kids who were struggling in that ocean with me, and they weren't able to get out, but I was. So if we look at this, one of the ways that I interpret it is that, we who know about God, who have this kind of knowledge, it's like having extra strength. So there's those who have that knowledge in the world, but need a little bit of help to be able to see the spiritual perspective and to get that spiritual knowledge. Yeah, so through symbolism, we can get a deeper understanding of the subject matter that God is trying to show us and what he's trying to teach us. Sometimes we see we'll have these interesting dreams, and a lot of the dreams that we have, sometimes it's just our own thoughts, they're very random, but occasionally we get these really, really clear dreams that seem to be different from our other dreams, and those are the dreams that we really want to pray about and try to analyze, and ask God in prayer too, what does this symbolize? And you never know, you might get an inspiration that'll come and you might learn something through that dream. So if we look at the Bible also, we see examples of this where some of the central figures had these deep dreams or interpreted dreams that had a lot of symbolism in them. So one example would be Joseph. When he was a prisoner in Egypt, the Pharaoh had a dream at that time. And the Pharaoh's dream, if you go to Genesis chapter 41, there was 7 really, really fat cows that were eaten by 7 really thin, gaunt, and scrawny cows. And then after that, 7 healthy grains were eaten by 7 scorched and withered grains. And the Pharaoh couldn't interpret this dream, and it drove him crazy. He asked all of his wise men, all of the magicians, everyone in Egypt. No one could do it. And Joseph was called out from prison to try to interpret this dream, and he was actually able to interpret it because he understood the symbolism that was happening. And the interpretation that he gave was, there will be 7 years of abundance in Egypt, but then after that, you're going to have 7 years of famine. And then after that, he wisely said, so Pharaoh should appoint somebody who understands these things to be in charge of all of Egypt, and to manage Egypt so that they can get through this time of famine. And Pharaoh says, well, there's no one else who knows as much as you know. So he picks Joseph, and so Joseph goes from being a prisoner in one moment all the way up to basically second in command of all of Egypt. Sometimes God will change a situation like that. We see that happening in the Bible, but it can happen in our lives too. If we have that knowledge of how he works and how he operates in the world, he can make that kind of a change very, very quickly. Sometimes it takes a long time, but sometimes it can happen in just a moment as well. So yeah, so that'll be something to continue to meditate on and think about. We'll cover more topics related to dreams in the future, and hope you guys enjoyed this video. Please keep watching. Take care.